This service is provided in high definition by freeconferencecallhd.com. You are the only participant in the conference. The recording has started. All participants are muted, and they can unmute themselves.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12-gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in a 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Now you can feel that squeaky clean sensation like none other with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash is a unique natural formula not found in any other oral care products. With a gentle combination of zinc, folic acid, myrrh, and clove oil, Vitamer effectively whitens teeth, removes plaque, and freshens breath, and it does it naturally without any harmful chemicals. Visit us online at Vitamer.com. That's VITAMYR.com. Or call us today to place your order at 1-888-558-8482. That's 1-888-558-8482. Keep your teeth and gums healthy with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer, nature's answer to healthy teeth and gums. And remember, it's all completely natural. Available at participating health food stores nationwide.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I was watching from the window, listening to the pouring rain, when I saw James flash a peace sign from the plane. And with one last look, he was off to fight for Uncle Sam in the war-torn jungles of South Vietnam. When he first arrived in country, he could not believe his eyes, couldn't understand why people had to die. But he did his thing for Nixon, spilled blood upon the land. For a host of reasons he just can't defend. These days he's just trying to get by, still dreams about that day in their life. So he rolls himself a big fat one out where those charts.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. The freedoms we secured for you, we hoped you to always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun, permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? O sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand. Defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Cornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters, both on and behind the lines in occupied territories, southwest, east, northeast, and south. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, and somebody who doesn't know how to mute up.
Actually, that's me, Dan. I'm sorry, I unkeyed the mic because we have a different stream we're going out on tonight. I am trying to help Daryl Civic with Braveheart Radio. They've had a computer problem, and they're running OBS to stream their program on the weekends on YouTube. You know how much I love YouTube, Dad. It's Google-based. Well, we are going out right now on YouTube. The image that you're seeing is from a game called Empyrean. The OBS program wouldn't let me stream without having something run in the background, so I had to have some screen to capture. So it's Empyrean. I tried to get it to do the Discord, wouldn't let us do that. But if the audio is coming in good, I see I got access to the chat, but I don't even know how to link this into Discord for the testing of it, and I don't even know where it's streaming at, guys. So if somebody could post a link to it in the Discord for me. I know that sounds weird. I'm streaming it, but I don't know where to access the video from, guys, to post it. I would appreciate it. Just post it in the intelligence report on the Discord page, and hopefully we can get a video link there so other people can check it out. Tell me how the audio sounds. Again, this is a test. We're probably going to get flagged for some copyright BS for the time that we're running this. But it's a test to help the guys with Braveheart. One of the reasons we don't use YouTube streaming is because it constantly was getting flagged with Spike and other people that we know. So we're here trying to get it to work. So this is part of helping out Braveheart Radio, guys. Just let me know how I was doing.
So again, give us some feedback.
With the call-in line, you sound good.
Again, I know we sound good on the call-in line. We are trying a different system altogether. I've got some feedback from the chat there, but I don't know how to link to it to see how well it's working myself. That's all I need. Just somebody to post a link to it in the Discord. Thank you.
And if you would also, again, pass it on through our other social media outlets so that everybody can tune in, or a few people can test and then give feedback in through the Discord feed so that we can see how to tweak, or if there's any variation, we're getting sound or noise that we don't hear. That happens in a system like that. We really don't have any control over it except to experiment with the board for a particular feed. Well, actually, their controls, because they do have a separate little series of minimalist controls for any of these systems. Every time you go to somebody else's site, you got to remember there's a certain number of tweakings that can be done, but it's nothing like the main board that Ed has in the station. So that's another thing taken into consideration. So feedback directly from the listeners is a big plus. Most people that actually do that, and they just ride with whatever the shipwreck is.
Dad, right now we've got the problem with Daryl part of it was the system software with OBS. We got part of that worked out, but I went as far as I could with the knowledge that I had for using it with YouTube. Daryl might have a problem with the camera that's hooked up to it because we couldn't find that as a source for him to use. So he may need a new webcam, or it could be that the computer that he's running on, he's using an older computer. It may just not have the operating system. So he may need some help getting another computer that will run the software.
So we do a hardware upgrade at that end. Okay. And again, for everybody out there, we'll just give you a heads up when we need, or if we need to assist him on that. And remember, Daryl's in Pennsylvania, so if we've got somebody over in Pennsylvania that can pitch in when the time comes, once we determine if there's an issue,
I want to say,
make it
Clay,
real
real quick,
right.
for posting that in the Discord. Thank you very much. I logged out of the game, though. All you're going to see is the Empyrean login screen because my little person in there was dying of starvation while we were doing this. Can't be playing the game while we're doing the work, so there we go. Thank you.
He just keels over for lack of digital oxygen. So anyway, real quick, let's just benchmark this. Today's date, it is, first of all, it's 5:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is the 16th of June. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with a K. 2020 Old Earth Calendar, 2020 Year of the Dance of Swords. And it is Tuesday, Communications Tuesday. So for everybody out there taking into consideration, communications are going to be a priority here. And one of the things I want to point out, your enemy is traveling and moving well. Now, I don't know what boot camps they have. I don't know what base camps. I know that they're using meetings like the communists did back in the Weather Underground and the communists did back in the 60s and in the early 70s. For those of you who aren't familiar with that, if you've read anything up on Antifa, guys, all they're using the same cookie-cutter print that we've seen before. The difference, this time around, they don't have any conscientious individuals. You know, on the one hand, they're saying, well, we're against the man, we're against the system, we're blah, blah. That's all a lie. They're just simply tools for the system. The Weather Underground started out being independent. Started out right here in Ann Arbor, Michigan, by the way, and worked all over the country, eventually on all these college campuses. But what happened, the reason that the group broke apart / quit, is the big corporations came and offered the Weather Underground cash to do more damage. Everybody goes, what? Yeah, as a matter of fact, most people don't seem to want to remember this, but in the works by the original founders, including the leadership, they explained that they had a meeting, in fact, 2 or 3, with, for instance, Shell Oil, Royal Dutch Shell Oil, and other representatives at a location, and they were offered piles of cash to do more. You know, they thought they were going to try and tell them, you got to back off, and we're going to bribe you to, attack, or not attack at all or something, but maybe a certain target, certain people because the opposition. And instead, the agenda from the CIA types that they were in touch with, because I guarantee that's what it was, and the Mossad trash, both of those pieces of filth, basically they told them, do more damage, do more of what you've been doing. And this was written back in the day. You're going to see all those books are missing from the libraries, but there's a bunch of underground work that was done and printed during that very early 70s window, in which a bunch of people had epiphanies about who was doing what with who. Well, that's why when you read about that split in the Weather Underground, that's what happened. I know personally because of, people that are in the area here, the first person were the ones kind of, involved with that stuff. But it's also stuff that was publicly written in the underground press and the underground, magazines and newspapers, which used to be the vogue back in the day, way before you had internet, guys. And a bunch of white paper books were written on the subject very quickly by a number of individuals and members to explain what it is they saw and what was going on. So the ones that carried it on were the ones who took the big corporate kosher money. but you're not supposed to know about that. I just told you, if you wait through the depths of time, you figure everybody's going to die and nobody's going to remember it, or everybody's so busy on drugs and then blows their brains out with that, they don't have any memory. Well, I didn't do drugs, and I got a memory. So I'm just reminding you of that, how things worked. And it wasn't the only operation. The Symbionese Liberation Army is probably the best example of a combined spook and kook operation with CIA and other agencies working together to create a conflict. The Symbionese Liberation Army, remember SLAM, right? The SLA. The operation itself, everybody was a black guy from a different community, the core people. They were each one from a different Midwestern, actually middle-class families. Cincinnati, Columbus, well, right down the list of major cities in the Midwest. Well, here's what's interesting. Eventually it was found out they were all undercover mod squad. Remember that term, mod squad? Mod squad type cops, and each one had been recruited from a different city and brought in to create the core of the SLA, with each one of them told, you can't trust anybody, you're all on your own, those guys are all terrorists, you're the only cop in the bunch. And then they tell the next one, these guys are all terrorists and you're the only cop in the bunch. And then they told the next guy, all these guys are terrorists and you're the only cop in the bunch. The whole bunch turned out to be cops. That's why the big shootout took place. They were trying to kill them off when they started to realize what had happened, and they were trying to figure out how to get out of what had been set up. Now, it doesn't mean there weren't other elements and factions that were little stringers. Those stringers continued afterwards and were probably Mossad operatives that were, able to drag the thing on for a longer period of time. For those of you who don't remember, Patty Hearst, there you go. Now you might remember the Symbionese Liberation Army, the SLA. It was SLAM or SLA, take your pick, depending on where you were, SLAM or SLA. And Patty Hearst was the poster girl there for a while with the carbine pistol with the 13-power rifle scope on the top of it. Do you remember that? It's like, and how does this work? Well, it looked cool. Had a big scope as big as the gun. It was about as long as the gun. And it made no sense, but it looked really cool for propaganda purposes. And the process was completely fabricated. Now, with the Weather Underground, they started telling people, and everybody started shutting down. They broke off. It's like, whoa, they just broke off and didn't want to do the thing. Those people were attacked for putting the brakes on the scam. Okay, something to think about, which is why you see all of the mixed propaganda afterwards about the Weather Underground. Okay, the same is true with the SLA, except that the only way that any information on the Mod Squad situation came about is because of the mothers who had to go collect the bodies of the many members who were killed in the big final shootout, where it's argued that over 100,000 rounds of ammunition was expended between both sides. And needless to say, they weren't planning on taking any prisoners, so they shot everybody they could and burned the place out, and the rest is history. Go look it up. However, nothing new. And what we're seeing right now, we're seeing a tweaking with mercenary operations working inside the United States that are contracted to the State Department. If it is a mercenary operation, if it's a company, man, they work for the company. If you work for any of these mercenary companies, they are registered and they are licensed with the State Department and the federal government. Okay? Just that simple. They don't just work out of a state. They have to be able to move through the national and international borders. And so they have special dispensations. So right now, Trump's people have been buying a couple of these mercenary companies to train Antifa. Now, I'm going to point something out. It shows. With some of the quality of performance, which also is a matter of, you got some wicked creatures, like the Mossad is in the middle of this, the Israelis are in the middle of this, they're the ones stirring the pot and making this problem. They've come in with their connections on college campuses. The Jewish mob, especially the Jewish communists, are always in the middle of this, because that's what they do. And what they've done is either they have taken, there has to be this pecking order. They've taken and created a cadre group who are core personnel who actually are not with the college students per se. They throw that out the window. They are actually Mossad operatives and other spook and kook operatives that are with the Jewish mob inside the United States, probably in conjunction with the FBI and the CIA, and, of course, all of them have ties to the ADL. All of them have ties to Southern Perversion Law because typically they're queer as a $3 bill and loony. So, and they're pedos. Don't forget that. They're pedos. However, the interesting thing is that we've got reports, enough of them, to show the lower and middle command management discipline, which is so critical. And if you understand it, you guys better get your act together. Because they're doing a hell of a lot better job of deploying and getting people where they need to, and they don't really have that great a resource. They've just got just a little bit of tweaking of management. Now, let me give you an example. We've seen this several times, and there's a dozen videos out there, like I've said, where you see the orc handlers barking orders. But they're not barking orders hard. In other words, they're not having to scream and with their eyes bugged out. When they give an order, first of all, they're disciplined enough to minimize their commands. This is most critical, as I've told you a million times on the air. Know the basics. You can ask about how we want to, plan World War 4.5 and how we're going to, strike this and attack. No, first of all, it comes down to basics. You get the basics done, you can take your Lincoln logs or Lego blocks, put them together any way you want, and make it work. Master the basics. They've mastered the basics. They're doing better than you are. Now, the orcs, when they're out in the field, the orcs are as haphazard and as dingo as you can imagine. The organic sandbags are the lowest end of that tier. But there's also a bunch of better quality infantry that are mixed in that are used for specific actions, and they can be identified. If you look at the macro motion of these crowds, it's easy to see. The macro motion includes the actual use of deployed regimental force on a line. The second element of that, which is so critical, is the individual, very well disciplined management / orc drivers. Now, beyond that, battlefield and is manipulating and maneuvering manpower to deploy it in the area of operation. Those are the ones I want to kill first. Those are the ones I really want to find. Like I told everybody, guys, you want to watch and pay attention. At some point, the radio communications, the technology activity, just like I've told you before, what you need, they already have in place. But the discipline, especially with regard to communications, everybody says, we need more radios, we got to have more, if we don't have the government stuff, we're just not going to. Really? Have you watched how the orcs move? We've sat here and talked on the air about how, one of these little orc bitches shows up. She's wearing a white dress, white blouse, and she walks over to the buses. She doesn't have to bark orders. She's not even using a radio. Remember what the reporter said? That they weren't even using radio. She just stands there, and she makes a motion, and that's it. Not repeated, not like all drama queen, not like you see in the movies, lots of flailing and whatever. No, very simple, very straightforward, very disciplined. Now, the other half of this is whatever training or conditioning they got to whatever deep or shallow degree is sufficient enough, or again, is reinforced enough that the minions, when they hit the ground, know enough to follow those simple instructions without gross complication and constant pacification by radio. I got to talk to you, Ralph, because we're going to move the troops. I don't think we should move the troops, Ralph. I think, by the way, did you hear about my hair color? My hair color is really great. Oh, my God. And by the way, did you see the television program last night? Oh, by the way, we're fighting and we're going to be in a combat situation. But, your radio is like a cell phone. You get to talk about it. Can I text you? Oh, it's really exciting. Would you like to see the picture? I got a Mimi. It's not like that.
Mark?
Okay, hold on a second. It's minimalist. Minimalist. That's how RO operations should be across the board. Minimalist. Even a lot of our military crap I've listened to is grossly overcluttered, and we can do better than they can. But let me give you an example without radios. One of the things that's been reported, and I have seen this now with enough of the videos I've poured through, when they're there and the orc driver starts barking an order, it is succinct, it is repeated, it is not in any way, shape, or form, they're not exacerbated, they're not, emotional. but they sometimes are putting some gut force in behind it. But otherwise, the orcs, the Antifa types, come under the leash fast. When they bark the orders, and I mean just, they send out the order, when they know it's the person. Now, normally in a military situation, the sergeants do this by instilling pain in the team and indoctrinating them to a process. And when you see the response that you are seeing, the actions that you are seeing in these videos, understand something similar has been done. That demonstrates depth in training. Doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be some fancy, Schmidlap fort or Schmidlap base and massive, aircraft flying overhead and regimented tanks and regimented trucks. Because if it isn't big, it isn't going to work. No, in fact, they're demonstrating again that if you just got your act together and you people actually started working together, what can be accomplished on even larger scale, because we got the thinkers and they're doing that with the dumbass stinkers. I think y'all better pay attention to that. Proper planning prevents piss, poor performance, but also keep it simple, stupid. Grossly overcomplicated will get you killed because you're too busy, again, the meticulous, tiny little, especially if it's just order givers, or for that matter, flap yappers in your communications net. Point, the management people didn't have radios. Now, granted, they're the equivalent to piker sergeants in the old guard, or the French Force Populaire, des Militaires, or like in the Revolutionary War period, or even Civil War. But it still comes down to that with no radio, it's not obvious that they have a radio. Maybe they've spent money on a better headset, ear set, throat mic. Who knows? But it typically at one point you get a flash of the technology and you see it. So instead, and by the way, there is no conversation, which leads questions about other ideas about how they're communicating, but we won't get into that BS. We're just talking about the basics. So again, the discipline to actually have an SOP, standard operating procedure, and for everybody to cooperate and participate in making the plan work by doing their part, and specifically understanding that when instructions are given, they're very narrow, very sharp, like a diamond cutter. Like I said, make sure your orders are understood, and understand that when those orders are given, it's already been established before you've made contact what it means to be given orders. In other words, if they're changing the plan, follow it, because that means the battlefield has changed. That's the other thing that the Antifa punks. They may be slow, they may be hairball turds, they may be, basement urchins, but guess what? If you watch these videos, when the orc drivers start telling them what to do, they do it. They're a mob, but they're the orc mob. Orcs are dangerous. Enough orcs together in one place. We are the ones who slew the great warrior. Same situation here. And that's exactly why people need to get their act together. When we put them down, we put them down hard. You put them all down. Nothing but a rumor of their destruction, return to where they came from. But half-ass fighting them means you end up with a half-assed result. And communications is the big part of this. But most of it is the lack of any extraneous or nonsensical communication that is no way, shape, or form serving the mission. They've actually demonstrated that they've got that part of the discipline down. So the management really is another group, which we've already said: mercenaries, Mossad, CIA, other foreign militaries. They're all operating against the American people right now, and they're on American soil. So we got a caller. Who do we have? He's been patient. Go ahead.
Right. One thing I know is really interesting. Watch this for, what's it been, a couple months or a month now? Anyways, there's no one fat and sloppy. They're all young. They all look like joggers, physically fit, military age. And the one theory I have with the communications and so many of them wearing the hoodies is that they have a ear throat mic combo running down inside the hoodie through a hole, and then you stick your comm device in the pouch of your hoodie and plug it in, so nobody sees anything. They're able to talk without as though they're holding any device to their head or nothing. It's just, they're talking.
Okay, hold on a second. Stop right there. Okay, the rank and file peon is like that. But if you've been listening to the program, have you been listening the last 7 days?
No.
Okay, we've described how the management aren't dressed that way. The management are like again, the one in Richmond or in the Virginia. Forgive me, I'd have to reconfirm which city it is. White dress, white skirt dress like from the 50s, white blouse, blonde hair braided into one tail in the back, no radio, nothing obvious, nothing on the person, and no being affected by flashbangs going off right next to it.
No, as though she grew up with it. That was the strange thing, the one that came up on the motor scooter.
But it's not the only one, because you can find a dozen of them now, or more than a dozen if you watch all the different riot videos from 2, 3, and 4 days ago. Every once in a while there's more footage that's been left up, or at least it's left up because they like it, because it's showing white people getting beat down. The important thing is that when you see that, guys, pay attention to how the management is directed. Again, between 20 and 22 years of age, maybe a little older, maybe a little younger, who knows? Some people age harder, some people look younger. Female, slacks, shirt, hair pulled back again so that it's not in the way, no earbud, no earpiece, barking orders like a sergeant, but a disciplined sergeant, not screaming like shrill. Very fixed, very, very low. So the fact of the matter is that the management, and by the way, does have a uniform. There's got to be something that's telltale. It's kind of like, guys, why did you carry a flag in the battlefield? What's the flag do for a fighting unit? What does it do? Rally around the flag.
It's color standard.
You know where your colors are, you know where your unit stands. And depending upon the formation that you've established, you then know how your unit is going to maintain the fighting formation or the motion formation that it's involved in. And also, your sergeants and your NCOs and officers typically have a telltale uniform that is different from and consistently is identified, by, so the orcs know who's barking orders or who's giving the commands. And the female, the little ratty Jewish female type, no butt slash Fruit Loop types seem to be, of course, and I mean Fruit Loop is if you had to deal with them, you find they're crazy as the day is long. But those types are very consistently the sergeants that they're using. And it's interesting that male, female, mostly male, they're following the orders no matter what. But they're following them in such a way, it's not like they're hesitating, and it's like they're, 1 minute they're in frothing, crazy town stupid mode, and then they're actually cowed down, or let's just say they suck in, and then they turn and they move away. You have to watch this. You understand what I'm talking about if you watch enough of the withdrawal of a formation. I've talked about this on the air for years. It's one thing to get into a fight, but you always have to have a plan to get out of a fight. Well, guys, they've got what we call it's the sucking and blowing motion of the battlefield, just like heating and ventilation. Either sucks or it blows, okay? But that roll back and forth, if you master that, it's like sailing the ocean. And that's what whoever's the management, I've got to commend them, and that they're whoever they trained and however they trained and whatever they got organized-wise, behind the scenes we haven't seen, that tier you haven't seen yet, they have done a damn good job. Now, again, that's because there's big money from the Jewish mafia, the communists here who are Jewish, the Jewish bankers, the Israelis, the communist Chinese, and their Jewish pack. Because everybody said, everyone goes, Chinese, Jewish, Chinese guys. Yeah, guys, if you don't know anything about China, if you don't know about the Communist Party, if you don't understand it's a Jewish Communist Party. Especially there, okay? So, again, the money, the focus and resources have been spent appropriately, and they got pretty good product for the money when you look at the milling crowds that we have on our side. And again, the problem is this is because of the peacock routine with regard to everybody that's showing up, because they got pretty gear or they got pretty tools, and everybody's trying to look like they're a stylized. Even because to be stylized, got to be stylized. It's like bling with the black homies. Instead of kind of consistent standing order for combat effect, it'd be combat ready and combat effective. Now, it's okay because they're not really just people defending their towns and stuff, but, I'll tell you, again, everybody is tweaked by organization. I don't care who you are, and the enemy, is in the same boat. When you actually get your act together squared away, then the controlled media really starts to piss bullets. And again, remember, had we trained just a little better or had better management skills on April 19th, had that been done right, we had 20,000 combatants in the field, and the enemy only had a couple thousand and we had to kill off, and they would have never made it back to Boston. The numbers speak that we should have exterminated them. But lack of focal management, in fact, designated straw bosses, that would have been enough. And it would have been thud, thud, thud. There would have been anything, maybe a few horses making it back to Boston. That's about it.
Say, Mark, I'm
Go ahead.
Have you seen the videos, the films of Cicero? I guess that's part of Chicago. Have you seen those today?
No, not today. That's again.
Cool.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's titled. There's an hour of them you can watch. It says Hispanic gangs defend businesses against black looters.
Oh boy, that's going to be entertaining. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, it is, and talk about coordination and communications. It's just top of your lungs screaming, "Get the AKs! Get the AKs!" And they've got.
Vámonos, muchachos y gringos. Yo,
well, they're banging away with pistols. Well, they're banging away with pistols, but they're low on ammo apparently. So then the AKs come out. But the best part is they have these big. I'll be brief here, but there's these big. They're nice, lifted, look like 2019 Chevy, Ford F-150, nice looking vehicles with big push bars, and they're ramming. They're coordinated at how they come around the block and they ram these series of 3 and 4 cars full of black dudes. Push them up on the sidewalk, and everybody starts gunning them down. And then the cops come, and they just ram the cops, and the cops take off. And you guys have, all you guys, and if there's anybody listening from there that could call in and give you some info, it is wild. But they are not letting anybody into their community. They're tired of it, as you know.
You just confirmed what I've been saying. What did I say yesterday? I've been saying this for a few days. See, the cops aren't our friends. When Antifa shows up, all of a sudden, who gets protected? Antifa comes up in Portland. They come in, and everybody does. It's okay to protest. Okay, so we go in and protest. Anybody of our mind. Then the Antifa attacks them. Yeah, but hold on. The Antifa attacks them, and then the cops jump in to beat down the Patriots. Right, this has happened over and over again for years now, okay?
Well, anybody shows up in Cicero right now is getting beat down by the Mexican gangs. It's great. So anyway,
and whoever else is giving the wink and the nod, yeah. And again, what they're making sure is they own the territory because they're the ones it's their property. I don't have a problem with that, you see. That's what gets me. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it's great. They're doing a good job. They're just patrolling their own AO, so it's good. All right. I just wanted to see if you'd seen that. Bye.
No, but I'll track it down again. Was that the videos you saw, were they on YouTube? Oh, okay. Cicero, I'm going to do a search. And
Mark, Gateway Pundit. Gateway Pundit.
Gateway Pundit?
I found it immediately.
Very
good.
Gateway
Pundit.
Excellent. So for everybody out there... And is that gatewaypundit.com or is that Gateway Pundit as in on a channel on a service? Which?
Hang on a second. Let me take a look.
See, this is inevitable because, you see, the cops are only going to show up so they can support their government counterparts, Antifa, when they get their tit in a ringer. And we've seen this over and over again. Down at Bethel, the cops were protecting the Antifa types because they needed, when they, and of course they eventually, all the state cops show up, and the state cops' job is to make sure that they protect all those ADL and foreign perverts, making sure that they protect the Jewish mob that are doing the rioting because the lodge buddies have already told the state cops what to do. And that's exactly what happened in Bethel, by the way. Go ahead, jump in.
It is thegatewaypundit.com, and then it's an article in there / something blah blah. Like I don't have time to copy all that in my brain. Thegateway.com. I just went to DuckDuck and I did a search for Latinos defend Chicago against Antifa, and this is the first thing that came up. And I counted 4 videos so far.
Right, with the Chicago battlefield. Well, Battlefield Cicero. Well, actually, wait a minute. No, it'd be the campaign of Chicago, sub-campaign of Chicago with the Battle of Cicero, which should be a lot of fun to watch. Again, it's ideas. I will point out that, like down in Texas and when farther south you go, the big vehicle you spend money on is the truck. The car is like for going to work, or if you really, everybody's got a truck, and the trucks are polished, like squeaky clean, and everything has been doodadded up. And when the latest one comes out, they'd rather spend money on that than any kind of fancy car, unless it's an old car they're going to jack and they're going to do a bouncer on, or if they're going to do some really high rims on and chrome those out, blah 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 blah. But the car itself is just dressed up a little bit, but it's lifted. So, just a heads up. Okay, well, it's interesting. Okay, we found it, but I'm looking to see if I can find the video of the battlefield and arrangements. Let's see. The Seattle thing is in there. Okay. Anyway, we'll dig through it. 3 New York police detectives poisoned at a Shake Shack in Manhattan. Breaking news, as of the 15th, today is the 16th. 3 New York police detectives poisoned at Shake Shack in Manhattan. So, not a surprise. Expect this, free food isn't exactly I would think that trying to get free food from a restaurant, if they are open right now, unless you really know the relative behind the counter, I wouldn't be trusting it very much if I were a cop. And I also would remind you that you better pay attention to the community you're in if you're going to buy any fast food from any place, because of the Fruit Loops that are behind the counters there, too. You're white, they're black. And remember, they brag up about doing wicked and evil things after the fact, but in the meantime, guess what? So heads up on that one, too, just to be safe. Another thing here real quick, again, with regard to communications, I've got 14 minutes left here. Another thing with regard to communications, don't give an order. Try not to give an order. Standard operating procedure eliminates that. I don't care if it's 2 of you together, 5-man fire team, 10-man squad. Notice I don't do the 4-man and 8-man. That's a deficient army. Everybody understand that? It's not an efficient team. The reason we went to 8-man everything and 4-man fire teams is because of lack of manpower. The Germans did the same thing later on in World War II to try and cover up for their numbers while still appearing to have the same battle board, field pieces. A 5-man fire team, 10-man squad makes more sense for militia, but whatever floats your boat, because immediately I say that, you'll have somebody yapping their ass about whatever. So here's how it works. Follow the guru of your choice, and in this case, my argument, 5-man fire team, 10-man squad. Okay, some of you are going to do the old Marine routine, 3-man fire teams. How's that one floating your boat? World War II, right in the very beginning. And if you know how fire teams and squads changed and what they did to reconfigure things, do a little history. Depending on when you were trained, you find just about everything. Okay. Anyway, the idea here is standard operating procedures. Certain things are just SOP. I tried to explain that. I wasn't trying to explain how to fight the war. It's certain things that need to be done that need to be so ingrained into you that I don't have to tell you. And this is one of the things that's showing up on the battlefield with regard to the Antifa punks. Now, that means they've had classes. That means there have been instructions, tutorials. And somebody apparently part of whatever they got sank in. Okay, yes, they're a mob. When they're told to be a mob, and they're really not all, they're still, rather effeminate. And yes, well, of course, half of them are female, but the other ones are effeminate anyway. But remember, these are wicked effeminates, so that means they can be just as mean and nasty as anybody else, and that's why you have to treat them and put them down as quick as you can when the time comes. You don't, assume. Same with the female combatants. Everybody wants equality, you're going to get equality. So just a heads up, when you have some froth and some Fruit Loop coming at you with a skateboard or a knife or trying to hit you with a Krypton lock, they get put down hard. I don't care who it is. Yeah, big, small, or indifferent. They get put down hard. You nail them, lay them down, keep them down. That should be the policy across the board. Get another caller. Go ahead. Jump in there.
It's Phyllis. Just have a question here. It seems like, how are they picking out these places where they think they want to go? Bethel is way out in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't seem like there would be any reason to go after that community. Apparently
it's a symbol of the rural that they're talking about. I think, like I said, all you got to do is look at several of the targets. We don't even probably know about the ones in the other states, but here's what it is. They're picking targets that are off the regular core infrastructure, roads, trains, and airports.
So they're closer to the cities, right?
Hold on. Bethel is just like Hillsdale. Go look at the map for Hillsdale, Michigan, and then go look at the map. This is where you have a good example of patterns I've tried to explain. Go look at Bethel. They're identical in terms of what's missing. It's not what's there, it's what's missing. Although Hillsdale has the college, which is really one of the reasons it got more vocal attention. The college is in a remote location. You can't get there from here. There's no expressways, no train service, there's no big airport. You have to, go to what is really a secondary highway to then take a state road or a county road to get to Hillsdale. Hillsdale proper, the city of Hillsdale, is actually a very regular county seat. It's got really nice buildings, multi-story buildings. It's got a college campus in the middle of town, but it's a dot out in the middle of nowhere. And Bethel, that's why I was saying, it's like, okay, if the Bethel is the one I found when we were doing that yesterday, it's a remote location, although it has a trunk. And this is why I was saying if they're going to go after Hillsdale, most likely they're going to come right down Michigan Avenue, which is similar to 125. The MO is exactly the same. And by the way, we confirmed, because they say in the reports they came down 125 from Cincinnati. When they came down 125 the first time, they were identified before they got there. They got on the ground. There was some scuffle and conflict. Then the second day, they came in 125 right down the chute. Predictable. Thing is that the state cops showed up to make sure they could help the commies, because the state police commies, have to suck up to their little UN/globalist New World Order turds. And every state, it's the same way. And every state, I've told everybody before, those state police will betray you faster than anybody else in your respective state. They are not your fellow Michiganians, Ohioans, whatever. Those are all lodge turds working for the big buds whose job it is to foreclose on America and hand it over to the other side. So the big thing is, if we look at when they're doing the rural, it literally is to take it to the most out of the way, but not the only way it'd be farther is if it was dead ends, okay, which are not safe for them, because one of the things about getting in is knowing how to get out. But the example is, you'll notice they're not going to like the edge of the Ohio River and say down to a location that they're basically their back would be to the river. Instead, the locations have multiple access points, albeit secondary roads, no primary trunks of any kind, no expressway, and basically isolated. Still, again, a rural, classic American rural community. That's what the globalists hate. That's what the communists hate. Look at all the frothing at the mouth by these pigs. The catchphrase with all these pigs from Pelosi on, through Hillary the Hutt, through all of these turds, and even the Republicans, you'll hear them say the same, those rural people. Well, these towns that they're attacking are the epitome of rural America. In that they're think about this. All these are infrastructured, but they're not critical, as in if the rest of the world fell off, they really could keep right on going all on their own.
Oh, yeah.
They're like
rural,
the other...
classic America is not what they want to be in existence anymore. They want to kill it.
Right, it's like they're the other America. It's like I said, they didn't drink the Kool-Aid and pay for an expressway to come through the middle of town or around town. They don't have a train grid, mostly because the rail service was destroyed back in the 70s. And they also typically don't have a significant airport. They certainly will have an airport, but it'll be a municipal / tarmac runway type thing. There might be some twin-engine or multi-engine aircraft, but they're just privately flown or flown by a business here and there, if they even have that, And that's why we need to do a better job with the battle board of the other actions like this around the country. I'm curious about a couple of the actions in New Mexico, because I'd be willing to bet they cookie cutter what we saw in Ohio and Michigan. And the same with, for instance, the stuff going on in Washington State. If we were to look at the outlying area activity, or say Oregon is expected, Portland's a dump. And that's a central metropolitan area. Go ahead, jump in there.
See, that was my point. That's kind of my point. If we could draw kind of like circles or something to see where they actually have already hit, and kind of the length or the distance away from what would be maybe a metropolitan area or a place where we know that Antifa is very active, would it be possible to set up some areas? And do they do reconnaissance? That's another question. But would it still be capable? Would we be capable to set up some kind of grid so we could be prepared and we know that they're coming to a certain area maybe next or within the next few months?
Right. That's what we just did with Hillsdale 2 weekends ago. That's my point. Only the difference is everybody's going to have to do it in their respective state. Michigan can't do this for, like Virginia, and Virginia can't do this for Florida. But what has to happen is this is the other half of the country. Think about it this way. I mean, literally, this is the part of the country they hate, but they also want to, if you think about it, Agenda 21. These are areas where we can live without them. Think about it that way. There's no expressway. If you're going to take back real estate, I have said this a million times on the air. Everybody goes, I'm going to take over this. We need to take the city of, Schmidlap, the big city of whatever, Detroit, or what. No, we don't. We don't need it at all. In fact, they need us. We don't need them. Because they've become so non-productive that they're actually a burden. They are not an asset. Their bureaucracy is so overburdened and so overlayered and mostly that bureaucracy is actually run by outside the metropolitan area by the Jewish enclave that is nearest, where they're sucking all the money sideways now. There's this like piping that comes down from above, supposedly from the Fed and the state, and there's these sucker tubes and diversion tubes that take it right over and out of the area of operation now. And it's just so clean and automatic with regard to their graft and corruption. It goes right to the kosher mafia's hands, and either goes right out of the state, or they spend the money where they want to there, so they have power where they are and where they divert the money to, and then the rest goes overseas to Haifa and Tel Aviv.
Hey, Mark.
That's where, again, places like this are the places I've talked about for years about you're going to have to develop macro motion on this. First, get everybody motivated the same way. Well, let's go back a year ago. What have I been talking about nonstop? Remember what I said about the Article 2 / Second Amendment sanctuary / I don't care what you call it? Guys, if you look, all the places where that was done are all the places of the type that they're attacking. Doesn't mean every one of them's the same, because we've actually made successes that really terrified them, which is why we got the coronavirus scam, and now we have the communist riots. It's that simple. We have been doing this. We have been successful. I've said this a million times. Our own people won't ever acknowledge their own success. They're always too busy piddling their own pants. Instead of getting motivated and going, okay, we got a success. How are you going to build on it? Drive. Point to it. Yeah, but they're going to come back, and if we get centralized, they're going to attack. Well, guys, they're attacking anyway. Okay, they're attacking right now. Don't worry, you didn't get your act together, so now everybody's getting piecemeal attacked all over the country because they fled here, cowered there, stuck themselves over in the corner in another spot. But they're hunting you down and trying to seek you out so they can kill you now. And with peons, Not even with the best troops they've got, with peons. Anyway, we're going to go to break. So let's stay right where we are and come back and we'll pick that up. God bless our republic. Death to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're on the march. We'll be back in a few minutes here. Second hour of the Intel Report coming up. It is Tuesday, Communications Tuesday.
And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys, water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys, we were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Pay the price they're asking, boys, always pay the tyrant's fee. Never give up the struggle, boys, fight for the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Stand for the rights of man, boys, stand against all tyranny. Hang the lance of freedom, boys, high on the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. It will grow as we grow, boys, it will be as strong as we. We must cling to our faith, boys, faith in the Liberty tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Now you can feel that squeaky clean sensation like none other with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash is a unique natural formula not found in any other oral care products. With a gentle combination of zinc, folic acid, myrrh, and clove oil, Vitamer effectively whitens teeth, removes plaque, and freshens breath, and it does it naturally without any harmful chemicals. Visit us online at Vitamer.com. That's VITAMYR.com. Or call us today to place your order at 1-888-558-8482. That's 1-888-558-8482. Keep your teeth and gums healthy with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer, nature's answer to healthy teeth and gums. And remember, it's all completely natural. Available at participating health food stores nationwide.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you find the right shotgun or rifle for you. Or if you're looking for a pistol or concealed carry, we have a nice selection of compact and subcompact pistols for that too. Check out our website at www.libertiesguardian.com. That website again is www.libertiesguardian.com. Go to the website and check out our selection today.
I had a dream the other night that, well, I didn't understand. A figure walked in through the mist with a flintlock in his hand. His clothes were torn and dirty as he stood there by my bed. He took off his three-cornered hat, and speaking low to me, he said, "We fought a revolution to secure our liberty. We wrote the Constitution as a shield from tyranny. For future generations, this legacy we gave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. freedoms we secured for you, we'd hoped you'd always keep. But tyrants labored endlessly while your parents were asleep. Your freedom's gone, your courage lost. You're no more than a slave. In this, the land of the free and home of the brave. You buy permits to travel and permits to own a gun. Permits to start a business or to build a place for one. On land that you believe you own, you pay a yearly rent, although you have no voice in saying how the money's spent. Your children must attend a school that doesn't educate, and your Christian values can't be taught according to the state. You read about the current news in a regulated press, and you pay a tax you do not owe to please the IRS. Your money is no longer made of silver nor of gold. You trade your wealth for paper so your life can be controlled. You pay for crimes that make our nation turn from God and shame. You've taken Satan's number. You've traded in your name. You've given government control to those who do you harm so they could burn down churches and seize the family farm and keep our country deep in debt, put men of God in jail, harass your fellow countrymen while corrupted courts prevail. Your public servants don't uphold the solemn oaths they've sworn, and your daughters visit doctors so their children won't be born. Your leaders send artillery and guns to foreign shores and send your sons to slaughter fighting other people's wars. Can you regain the freedoms for which we fought and died? Or don't you have the courage or the faith to stand with pride? And are there no more values for which you'll fight to save? Or do you wish your children to live in fear and be a slave? Oh, sons of the Republic, arise, take a stand, defend the Constitution, the supreme law of the land. Preserve our great republic and each God-given right. And pray to God to keep the torch of freedom burning bright. As I awoke, he'd vanished in the mist from whence he came. His words were true. We are not free, but we have ourselves to blame. For even now, as tyrants trample each God-given right, we only watch and tremble, too afraid to stand and fight. If he stood by your bedside in a dream while you were asleep and wondered what remains of the freedoms he'd fought to keep, what would be your answer if he called out from the grave? Is this still the land of the free and home of the brave? God bless you, and God bless this republic.
And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second hour of the afternoon intelligence report. I'm Mark Kornke. One day closer to victory for all of our brothers and sisters on and behind the lines in occupied territories, east, southeast, south, and west. Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to us on Libertytreeradio.4mg.com, AM and FM micro stations, CB base stations, and Ultra Net Hallmark and Golden Spike Technologies east and west of the Mississippi, along with Alaska. Good afternoon to all of our friends out there in the lower 49, which includes the great state of Jefferson and Conus. That's the other 48 continental, along with the outlying states, territories, and the clock, 6:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is Tuesday. It is the 16th of June. It is the 12th year of open Fabian Socialist and Soviet Socialist occupation of America with the K 2020 Old Earth calendar, 2020 year of conflict, year of betrayal, and the dance of swords begin. We're going to war. And there's no coming out of this one, and there's nothing going to fix the economy. That's done. There's nothing to fix what's going on here. This is not going to get put back in the box. The other side is making their move. That diversion you're trying to ignore is the attack you have been expecting. Now, one thing that Phyllis brought up is, well, we should have plans for, or specific plans for areas that are under attack or that are probably going to be attacked. Can we predict them? Okay. Well, we can to a degree by simply listening to enemy communiques and propaganda/public announcements that they make. We don't have a problem with whether or not they show up. See, this is the mistake also made by people who are, well, it's got to be perfect. Oh, well, it is perfect. Here's how it works. You first of all should be deploying and using economy and force. You only deploy as many people as you need so that you can constantly deploy over a 24-hour period, not rather than 900 people showed up in the middle of the day and then pittered out, and then the bad guys showed up at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the afternoon and were rioting through your community all through the night and burned the tire store and busted up the grocery store. See, that's Ferguson, remember? Ferguson. Go look at the battlefield, Ferguson. All this is the big version of Ferguson, Missouri. Ferguson, Missouri. Guys, that isn't even old news. That is even ancient. That's recent history. Ferguson, Missouri, or as we used to jokingly call if you were at Fort Lost in the Woods, Misery, okay? Missouri, guys. So we have, again, we need to deploy, but first you need, as quickly as possible, some kind of cooperative straw boss operation. You don't need a grand poobah, you don't need a fleet admiral, but you do need to acknowledge that there has to be a specific war council to make decisions about defense. And that can be organized very quickly. Example, people show up, people from a neighborhood in your community, they're already organized. They got trash dumpsters across the neighborhood, entranceways. The neighborhood's not that big anyways, it's 2 or 3 blocks, whatever. Congratulations, they've already been talking to each other. Somebody actually communicated. Pick somebody as a representative for that defense zone. Have that committee, that team of management, that command group come in, and with the groups that are protecting the downtown area, everybody, when you get that 900 people together, first of all, you ask everybody, how many brought weapons? Hopefully everybody did. If you're planning on bringing weapons later because maybe there's nothing happening right now or it doesn't happen, we need to organize over the next 24 hours, and we need to be able to mobilize as needed to effectively respond, not react. Reaction is knee-jerk. Reaction creates hiccups. It's the reactive fighting of the rioter that is a waste of energy. Oh, for the slobs that are in charge way up the feeding chain, works fine for them. They don't care because that way the peons aren't too well trained so they can be rolled over later by the secret police. They execute all of these organic sandbags later when the time comes, if they're like Antifa or whatever. They end up in a ditch. They end up all shot. They end up in the big holes right next to all of you, but first they kill you, and then they get rid of them. That's how it works. So here's the thing. At this point in time, any response is a good response, but we need to get better at the response. With regard to local defense, you guys are going to have to. Everybody in respective parts of the country is now going to have to take seriously the idea that you're on your own, take care of yourself. The cops aren't going to take care of you. They're going to glogger up amongst themselves. Then they're going to look for political correctness. Then they're going to be protecting the invader. These Antifa punks aren't from your community. That's what happened with Bethel. That's what was going to happen with Hillsdale. That's what's happened with pretty much all these areas. They're busing these characters in. Well, then they're not from your community. So as far as them protesting, piss on them. That's not protesting. They're just planned attacks, and they're using the facade of the protest. And, of course, they're still doing there's 2 or 3 or 4 different groups. Shut up. That scam isn't going to work with us anymore, and I know better. Because they're not, the Antifa were really horrible and terrible, and we're not with them. They aren't going to bleed out or scream that. You want to know why? Because Antifa's going to beat on them. Now, with the Patriot side, the panty waste will immediately go, we just need to be panty waste and the evil militia. And you know what we'll do? We'll just stand off to the side and watch you get your ass beat. So you see the difference between the two sides every step of the way? So if you want to not, embrace the idea that you all should be mutually defending each other, we're more than happy to stand off the side and watch you get your ass kicked. That's the part people have a hard time wrapping their brain. Well, why aren't you jumping up? It's like, because they said they didn't want me. Or that they're going to make some snide comment when they're in front of the camera and then expect me to go, oh, wow, it's really great you pissed on us while you were standing here. You know, I don't know those guys, but, you know, we're the smart ones because we're not armed and we're not going to do anything when they try to kill us, but we're going to piss and moan and cry about it. And the cops will, of course, not really do anything. And by the time they finally do, there's a bunch of casualties on our side, and the Antifa get away with whatever. See, therein lies the rub. So people are having their epiphanies, and in the rural, everybody already understands pretty much that they have to take care of and protect themselves. That's why it takes less time to get those people motivated and into play with regard to mutual defense, a mutual liberty interest, okay? When you deploy and nobody shows up, that's a good thing. That means you did your job. And if somebody says, well, they weren't going to be there anyway, all my ass. They were planning on being there, but you know what? The different commands, this is just like in the Civil War or any war for that matter. Different Army units, different Marine units for different Army, you know, different countries have different levels of quality. They're not all uniform. They're not all the same. Some fight better than others. Some don't fight well at all, and some run. That's the math formula. And that's true of armies, that's true of navies, that's true of military formations of any kind. There is not a consistent line, well, they're all this best quality, it's futile to resist. Nah, BS. There's a whole bunch of the units you'll face off on, you could roll right over so fast, make your head swim. You won't even realize your victory as it's accomplished. You're like, what just happened? You won. No, it should have been harder. No, you won. But it was harder. I watched all these movies. I listened to the news. I watched all the propaganda. There's a plan. They're fooling us. No, you won. You beat their ass.
You knew you won when you saw those French rifles under your feet as you were advancing.
Right. Exactly. Wow, look at all these people with all these hands in the air and guns in the ground, and they're brand new. Yes, exactly. And that's where our problem is that when here's the thing, our own people should shut their face with regard to, well, they didn't show up, it was stupid. Well, in fact, if somebody does say something like that, they're not with you because they don't know how to claim a victory. If you put people on the ground and your enemy unasses the AO or your enemy does not, follow through on their threat, then you have a victory on your hand. But the dumbasses in the Patriot movement don't know how to embrace that. Well, they're not in the Patriot movement. That's the whole point. We're listening to people who aren't in the Patriot movement, who are dumbasses. They're typically the Weezer whiners, like the Prophecy Club types. It's doomed, Nostradamus and the Mayan calendar. We just found another reading, and we're all going to die. Aren't you Christian? Yeah, but the Mayan calendar says. What does the Mayan calendar have to do with your Christianity?
Mark, did you get the Mayan calendar article I sent?
Oh, yes. I knew it was coming. I told you. I knew it now, but
as soon as I saw it, I said, he's got to see this. We're 8 years off. It wasn't 2012. It's June 21st, 2020.
Right, because the Mayans were so worried about lining their predictions up with our calendars. So that the 2020, it's 22020. See, that's what it was. And the idea behind this is people are like that because they can associate with those, there's synchronicity in the numbers. Yeah, but they're Mayans. Your calendar and your people, in fact, here's one thing you better remember. The Mayans were gods. Thinking that you're counting in their society, you are an idiot. You're really stupid. Nothing about us is of interest to them except another conquest. They're not trying to appease you. They weren't trying to write it to make it fit for you. They had no interest in you. The Mayan calendars were for the Mayan Empire, not for you. So how many times you had this dipwit garbage show up? And it's the same with, now, the one that's only worse for me is this one really was written for us, and it's going to come out of here's the thing, they're going to pull it out of their ass real quick, here's how it's going to work. Now pay attention. Notre Dame has said the diseases are going to sweep across the pan of the population in the great cities, and the government will have to take the children away from the families, and the government will protect the children, but there will be no adults, and there will be no families together. Only the communists will take the children and kill the rest of you off. Oh, I mean the disease and the plague and the pestilence. You want to, I can say that? I'll challenge you to this. You can find this remake, starting in 1989. They remade it in 91. They rehashed it again using the exact same stinking 1-hour special on Nostradamus. I like to call him Notre Damus, right? Because after all, it's like Socrates and, Bill and Ted. Well, anyway, with, Notre Damus, they were telling everybody back, this is that FEMA thing. This is where you take this kind of BS, and if you got people that have no spine and they defecated out their bunghole like meat xylophone constantly, fear, I'm scared, all fear. Well, the government's they took, this woman had this vision because she was using a smoked looking glass. Anybody remember this one? And Nostradamus, she believes in Nostradamus, and she saw in the smoke-looking glass all the children being taken to special places. Yeah, probably Epstein Island, to be quite honest. But she saw them taken by the government, and the thing is, there were no adults, just government, police state types, government people, and all the children were taken, and they were made, safe. Now, guys, they rehashed that 3 times from the late 80s, early 90s, and because, of course, the blue turban guy, Nostradamus and the blue turban guy, Saddam Hussein, when we attacked him the first time, was going to be the big war. Saddam Hussein, he had the blue turban and the missiles and the blah, 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 blah. And then what they did is they waited and they actually plugged it in again. They took the exact same footage, reworded, and I'm talking even the fake footage where they had the character actors and the play acting, reworded it and voiced over everything, and did a second version and then a third version, which included the Nostradamus crap about, well, you're going to have to give your kids to the government. Sound familiar with what you're hearing right now? Oh, well, of course you have to hand your kids over. They need some fresh blood to suck out so they can, first terrorize the kids and then, do the adrenaline thing with your children that they'll use, being the vampires that they are. Yeah, because they need the children. Everybody ready for that? Now it's Notre Damus time, so it's not an if, it's just a when. Notre Damus, we already got our Mayan calendar crap. And again, the Mayans considered you less than nothing. They believed themselves gods. And they were, of course, special to the gods. And all the rest of you were dog meat. They were like the Jews of Central and South America, like the same with the Israelis and the Jewish trash. You're the goy, okay? And they're gods. Well, they're gods, and there is no God as far as the real communist Jewish mob is, okay? So just a little heads up there for everybody who's not quite up to speed. And again, it's let me know. Anybody want to do some like a betting table on, like we can do a board on, how soon before we see the Nostradamus crap? The Nostradamus, told us, and of course they'll do it, first. And by the way, the one of the pieces within the New York Times about the Mayan calendar, so that you can be that much more doomed. Okay. Just a heads up. Anyway, we are headed towards the bottom here. And Edward, if you could, for a music request, bottom of the hour at 6:30. UDO, Give As Good As I Get. I love that song. And you know what? Right now, that's what needs to happen. You need to give as good as you get. In fact, you need to do better. Now, that means that you need to think ahead. But here's one of the things to remember. If you actually deploy and nothing happens, it's a training exercise that was priceless. Why? Because you had a real-time operation. You have found out what worked and didn't work. Did you pay attention to what didn't work? Instead of pissing and moaning about it, did you actually write down and do a sit rep so that later on you'd be able to follow up and correct mistakes that are made? If you have mechanical issues or something that we cropped up, what were we not ready for, or what did we have to do? Which is, by the way, practice what we preach. That's why I mentioned when we had a vehicle issue, I brought it up on the air for a reason. because the teams actually used mechanized theory with regard to application of resources. You can't pull everything out of the field when you're committed, but what you can do is prioritize to save the wounded, so to speak, or to make the wounded or damaged piece of equipment still useful or viable in some form. This is also true with regard to your fighting force, your manpower. Now, wherever it is that we have to quickly organize, the big thing is, okay, you got all these people of like mind together. Who stepped up to the plate and got everybody to talk to each other so that everybody knows who's who in the zoo? And then you start organizing, so you do have 5-man fire teams. Bob and his 2 sons and his dad. There you go. There's, okay, one more. Yeah, there's your neighbor. There's 5. Now, you guys work together. In fact, you got a combat loader. Anything carry more ammo in? I hope you're not just carrying that rifle around. Well, I got a bunch of chiclets in my pocket. Well, I know you do that for deer hunting, and that's not a problem, but it would be kind of nice if you carry a lot more with you, because if this does escalate into a firefight, I want you to, A, pull the trigger, but I want you to do like you do when you're hunting Bambi. I want you to get that tag first round. I want you to put rounds down range, and I want you to hit. I don't want you to miss. But I also need to make sure that as we run into more aggressors, you have the ability to sustain the fight. Emphasize also water. This is why a basic tactical rig is especially critical. Everybody needs to be pointed out. It can be a ditty bag. It can be just a shoulder bag like the Patriots did of 1775 that actually is available in a dozen different little utility bags that are basically crossover bags that you can carry that have all the little junk in it you need. If that's the way you want to go, you want to be low-key, but you're really like halfway to a tactical rig, so why didn't you just go a tactical rig? Oh, I wanted to satiate my enemy and appease them because, look, I just have a shoulder bag. My enemy won't like me if I'm tactified. Well, wait a minute, key word, your enemy. Who cares what my enemy thinks about me anymore? Guys, look at what you're facing. Look at what's happening right now. Why would you care about what they're saying or going to yap about you? They're going to lie no matter what. They're going to angle it no matter what. They're going to sculpt it no matter what. So piss on that. Instead, it's like, yeah, my people did pretty well. Yep, that's my guys. Now, there's a few things we're tweaking. We're going to get better at it real quick because everybody here, we got the thinkers, they got the stinkers. Motivate, 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 motivate. I love these people. We got a bunch of piss willies that are supposedly management. They don't know how to manage. They don't even know how to really run anything. And that's going to get settled out real quick as this thing gets into a serious situation. And old Bob there flummoxes out his spine. He's real tactical, but then all of a sudden things get serious. Now, here's one thing you better be ready to do. Somebody better be ready to lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. So somebody better be ready to jump in and start directing. If Bob, who said, I'm going to be in charge, I was a special fleet admiral, and I got some extra patches I bought, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's cool, and so what are we going to do? Well, we're just going to kind of nebulously mill about here, and by the way, got any beer? We had a lot of beer when I was in the military. Oh, okay, well, no, that's not what we're looking for. Instead, what we need is focus. And again, a lot of people claim they were sergeants. Well, what were they doing when they were sergeants? I don't need captains and fleet admirals and whatever. I need sergeants. We need guys who are going to, you, now, there, you, grab that guy. You, here, now. See, that's the American management system, and it's the epitome of it, people. That's what I've told you a million times for 30 years on the air. If you use the American management system, which is what made us great, it's decisive. It's not this committee of monkeys having to explain why you're trying to do something every time. That is one of the problems. Simplify your orders in all of your actions. But also, when time comes, emphasis is you, here. Here, you, congratulations, you're a corporal. These 5 guys are yours. These 4 guys are yours. Whatever's clustered right here, guess what? Now you figure out who's got the best, heaviest weapon. I think you better put that person to the rear to be a base of fire. Otherwise, the rest of you better be paying attention to finding cover and concealment. We don't really want the enemy to see what we are doing. until we pull the trigger, and then it's pretty well obvious. Now, with regard to the outlying areas, any of them, the best thing we can do is spread the word. Look what happened here. This is going to get more people motivated. Look at how the Article 2/Second Amendment sanctuary city resolution/resolves issue moved. Everybody wants to do something. Everybody knows something needs to be done. This got a fire under their ass, and all it took was a handful of people to finally get focused and motivated, and that cascaded across the country, and the enemy defecated in their drawers because that wasn't supposed to happen. We're all supposed to be scared and terrified and fearful. Now, the same is true with regard to what's happening right now. Piss on the other side. Piss on them all. In fact, we start pulling the trigger, kill them all. Let God sort them out later. That's his job. My job is to send them to our Creator if they decide they're going to wage war against us. Your mission in life is to exterminate the enemy. And that enemy right now is, well, of course, they just had the thing in New Mexico. Oh, a poor protester. He wasn't a protester. The asshat was using, they've been coached on using the skateboards. Anybody knows how the skateboards are popping up? He was only carrying a fiberglass, steel-reinforced, alloy-wheeled skateboard. Yeah. And they're all using them the same way to stab, punch people, and focus force sideways with the edge of the skateboard. That is a lethal weapon. So one of their asses got shot. I wish that they had not stopped shooting. He should have dumped the mag and reloaded. That needs to happen more. Oh, he was under control. That's why the fools think they can keep getting away with stuff. Because you're showing a kind of discipline when you get into a fight that you don't really need. Just the reverse. You go into, and it's not mayhem, but you go into systematic destruction mode to ensure that everything within your area of operation is put down. I've already made up. You already got to have a decision made that what you're going to do, whatever it is, no matter what it is you're facing. You've already got to have a decision that, well, whoever gets in front of you, the dumbasses are dead. Once they cross that very narrow line, then the minute it gets physical, then it's over for them. And anybody who steps in the way, because you see these cops, and I'm going to say it again. Oh, Mark, you can't say that. Yes, I am. These cops are siding with Antifa. And the higher up the feeding chain, the more of them are standing there with Antifa. The state cops are always there siding with Antifa. They're always there with the communists. When they beat down on you, they'll stand and watch. When you defend yourself, how dare you lift a finger, you slave, you peasant, you plebe, you doormat, you producer, you taxpayer. How dare you stand up for your life? How dare you think your life is worth something? I'll dare a whole hell of a lot. I'm finished with these people. You all should be finished with them too. This game is over as far as building or fixing anything. Why would I fix for my enemy? Read the book Ayn Rand. They're not going to leave. The turds that are causing this problem are going to sit right where they are. You're supposed to fix what it is that they intentionally broke with and spent a vast amount of material on and resources on to break. And you're supposed to be that fixer again. Well, not for them. Let me give you an example. If anything happens to those little rural areas, that's why Hillsdale's worth defending. The reverse option, the reverse situation is here. Now, it doesn't mean there isn't cross-contamination from the Fed in all the communities across the country. There is. That's been our problem for decades, three headed towards 4 decades, is that nobody knows how to actually operate an American government as opposed to the parasitic Soviet socialist government that we have. They can't get it out of their mind. Because if you eliminate all of these different slobs and parasites and overlapping, grossly overpaid bureaucrats and bureaucratic infrastructure over and over and over again, all of a sudden all that money is available for the people. And it would still be spent, but it would be to your benefit. Well, we can't have that because we've got to keep the boot on the back of your neck. And there's a whole bunch of slobs out there in uniform and out that really like that idea. They like that. They'd like to even join up with the creatures that want to build this New World Order thing because, well, in their small brain, they'll have a little power for a little while. But they'll just figure they got power until they drag them over to the ditch and put their hairy hind end in it, too. Every one of those useful idiots always dies in the ditch. But they talk themselves into betraying all the rest of us first. Right now, that's what these cop shops are doing, across the board. Pay attention. Even in Bethel, the cops had to get in there. They had to protect. Anybody seen the images from Bethel, what they did? Where they, again, we got to protect the... No, you don't. Why don't you just, first of all, they're not from here. They're coming here to pee in the pot. They bragged about how they're going to bust up people. They bragged about how so I take their word for it. All I have to do is watch how many weeks' worth of destruction. And if I have an enemy make a comment about how they're going to kill and murder and blah, 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 well, who are you to tell me that I'm not supposed to believe that? I want somebody to explain that one to me. Well, yeah, I know you're seeing it on TV. I know that they busted the guy's head open until his brains leaked out the skateboard slice where he took the top of his head off. But they're not that bad, and you just need to understand and be reasonable. Whoever opens their face like that needs to have a bullet put in their hind end faster than the one who's got the skateboard in his hand. Because all they are is the monkey-poking backstabbers going to try to get you killed, while they're working with their fellow travelers, the government people from within, and the rioters working for the government people from without. Pressure from below, pressure from above. Go ahead, caller. Jump in there. Who do we have?
This is Fluffy. The problem for them is that we do understand them. And since we understand them, we have absolutely no reason to be kind to them or gentle. And we damned well shouldn't be. Out.
Well, it's obvious that, being reasonable is obviously by the cops and by the rioters, that's considered to be weakness. Don't think so? Look how they've been acting. Pay attention to what's going on.
Absolutely true.
So the proof is in the pudding. We don't burn stuff down. We don't do this. But UDO, Udo. We'll be right back here. I give as good as I get. I swear to God, you lift a hand, I'll cut your arm off. Stuff it up your arse.
What's good as I get. I give as good as I get.
Sound improvement by Deep 46 Blue.
I give as good as I get. I give as good as I get. I give as good as I get. I give as good as I get.
And I promise I'll give as good or better than I get. Whatever's coming at you, like I said, take the arm off, stuff it up their hind end, turn them into a nice little pogo stick there. Just that simple. Anyway, another little piece here. This is actually sent by John, and there's another request, but I'm going to do it from my end because Ed doesn't have this. Neat little piece, 3 minutes, 15 seconds long. I don't know how I'm going to share it. I'm going to have to work on that a little bit. But interesting piece on the white guilt issue, and when you take a look at the turds, the knuckle draggers, and the shoe size IQ types that you got out there, and I don't care, white, black, pink, purple, doesn't mean difference. All of the idiot sticks you've got on the other side, at least you have purple hair, right? Whatever you've got on the other side, your public fool system and your government money paid to create the creatures that are destroying your country. You paid for that. Didn't happen on its own. You paid for that. Shame on us. Shame on us all for letting this go this far. Time to get rid of it. In fact, there ain't going to be any fixing them. I will remind everybody, we deported 1/5 of the population of the United States at the end of the American War for Independence. We deported 1/5 of the population of the United States at the end of the American War for Independence. And by the way, we did most of it in a 90-day window. 1/4 of a year. They were given a 90-day window. Unasked CAO, head somewhere else, but you're not staying here. Again, we deported 1/5 of the population of the United States at the end of the War for Independence. We're going to have to do the same again and more. Anyway, here we go. A little piece here, 3 minutes, 15 seconds long.
We often hear that we must pay for alleged wrongdoings of our imperial past by submitting to massive immigration into our homelands. This argument depends upon white guilt. Some of our people get a rush from indulging in ethno-masochism. But we can smash this politically correct charade simply by refusing to apologize for who we are. I'm not sorry for the colonization of indigenous peoples. After Europeans left, they went back to their third world ways. Moreover, these people create nothing new, except for dictatorship, cannibalism, poverty, and civil war. I'm not sorry for apartheid. After the native Africans took control, they slaughtered the whites in the area just as they did in Haiti. Have a look at what happened under Robert Mugabe. I'm not sorry for slavery. Every race on the planet has practiced slavery at one point or another. More whites were abducted and enslaved by Muslims than the number of blacks enslaved by whites. It was whites who founded the abolitionist movement and fought to end slavery. Today, various tribes in Africa continue to enslave each other, yet they say there's only blood on the hands of Europeans. If anything, under white rule, third world countries had a higher standard of living than they could ever produce on their own. After we leave you to yourselves, what we build for you is destroyed. We are not dependent on you. If anything, you need us. I'm not sorry for the Crusades. Our ancestors courageously fought to drive Islam out of Europe. If it weren't for their valor, our entire civilization would be under Islamic tyranny. That same heroic spirit still flows through the blood of our people today. Ethno-nationalism among Europeans is rising in the face of invaders. I'm not sorry for imperialism. The Mongols built the largest empire in human history, but nobody suggests that they should be denied their sense of cultural and racial identity. The issue isn't that our ancestors were imperialists, it's that we were the best at it. We came, we saw, we conquered. Such allegations against the entire white world are just excuses to rob us of our once prosperous homelands. Saudi Arabia insists that Europe should take in more refugees when they're a rich oil state capable of housing millions of them. Instead of importing their own kinsmen to their country, they offer to build mosques in Germany. Liberals will claim they're standing for human rights, but the minute you tell them whites have the right to self-determination, they scream, "You're part of the problem," thereby embracing the cultural and demographic genocide of a race that has created the very civilization they take for granted. There's no point in apologizing anyway. They merely see it as a sign of weakness and will attack you even harder. The only way to stand up for yourself and your people is to refuse to apologize. We're not sorry for what our ancestors did. We're not sorry for who we are today. No apologies, no regrets, no doubt, no compromise. We're not sorry.
And I'm going to play that again one more time. Make sure it's in the record. It's on the program here where you can pull it one way or another through the archive down the road. Basically, it's "We're Not Sorry." So for everybody out there, one more time. That way it'll be on the bill, and it is, of course, the 16th of June, just as a record, and the second hour. Probably should have played it once the last hour. I'll play it again at 8 o'clock, too. Here we go.
We often hear that we must pay for alleged wrongdoings of our imperial past by submitting to massive immigration into our homelands. This argument depends upon white guilt. Some of our people get a rush from indulging in ethno-masochism. But we can smash this politically correct charade simply by refusing to apologize for who we are. I'm not sorry for the colonization of indigenous peoples. After Europeans left, they went back to their third world ways. Moreover, these people create nothing new, except for dictatorship, cannibalism, poverty, and civil war. I'm not sorry for apartheid. After the native Africans took control, they slaughtered the whites in the area just as they did in Haiti. Have a look at what happened under Robert Mugabe. I'm not sorry for slavery. Every race on the planet has practiced slavery at one point or another. More whites were abducted and enslaved by Muslims than the number of blacks enslaved by whites. It was whites who founded the abolitionist movement and fought to end slavery. Today, various tribes in Africa continue to enslave each other, yet they say there's only blood on the hands of Europeans. If anything, under white rule, third world countries had a higher standard of living than they could ever produce on their own. After we leave you to yourselves, what we build for you is destroyed. We are not dependent on you. If anything, you need us. I'm not sorry for the Crusades. Our ancestors courageously fought to drive Islam out of Europe. If it weren't for their valor, our entire civilization would be under Islamic tyranny. That same heroic spirit still flows through the blood of our people today. Ethno-nationalism among Europeans is rising in the face of invaders. I'm not sorry for imperialism. The Mongols built the largest empire in human history, but nobody suggests that they should be denied their sense of cultural and racial identity. The issue isn't that our ancestors were imperialists, it's that we were the best at it. We came, we saw, we conquered. Such allegations against the entire white world are just excuses to rob us of our once prosperous homelands. Saudi Arabia insists that Europe should take in more refugees when they're a rich oil state capable of housing millions of them. Instead of importing their own kinsmen to their country, they offer to build mosques in Germany. Liberals will claim they're standing for human rights, but the minute you tell them whites have the right to self-determination, they scream, "You're part of the problem," thereby embracing the cultural and demographic genocide of a race that has created the very civilization they take for granted. There's no point in apologizing anyway. They merely see it as a sign of weakness and will attack you even harder. The only way to stand up for yourself and your people is to refuse to apologize. We're not sorry for what our ancestors did. We're not sorry for who we are today. No apologies, no regrets, no doubt, no compromise. We're not sorry.
There we go, guys.
I'm not just not sorry. I'm proud of my ancestors, and my ancestors did own slaves.
Well, again, the thing about this, bottom line is, again, with the situation we're in right now, the attitude that you just heard there is the attitude you have to have, simply because giving any ground means you lose. Well, but what about? They always do the, oh, but what about? It's like, no, I'm done with that. I really am. I've gone through all the numbers, okay? I've done all kinds of things. I have been a very busybody person for all my life, okay? And you know what? I've got assets telling me all about how I need to apologize when they have no idea what I did with my life, but they're going to be frothing at the mouth and barking in my face, and you know, I'm finished with that. I'm not going to let that happen. Now, I know they're going to try to monkey poke you or side bite you or, you know, side beat you, slap you from behind, hit you with a pipe from behind, whatever. So you better be paying attention to your environment. I recommend most all of you, if you're going into any community nowadays that's not your community, that you at least wear light body armor. It's not expensive. You can go get what they call stab armor. And by the way, somebody found out, I want to point this out, one of the characters that has this goofy channel I never mentioned on YouTube, but he just breaks and destroys stuff. I mean, I don't see any pleasure in stuff that he does because it's almost all useful stuff. But there is testing that needs to be done. So it was rather funny because he bought one of the cheap ballistic nylon vests that the Chinese are pushing out there, okay? And he shot it, and it stopped the bullet, and he didn't expect it to. Now, understand that this is some of the other ballistic nylon. There are many different ballistic weaves out there. What's interesting about these Chinese panels that he was shooting at is when he started doing a quick autopsy on the hit, the weave is almost like cotton candy. In other words, it's a multi-tier integrated weave. It's not just layered like cloth upon cloth upon cloth, which you typically see. What is interesting is that it actually did a job of stopping a bullet. Most of what you're concerned with is not stopping a bullet. It is distributing the weight of a blow to your body or a knife or a monkey poke stab attack, because that's the most common thing that they do. The other problem is the back of your head. The pigs, swine, Yehudi trash, knuckle-dragging, baboonists, all the rest, if you watch over and over again, they'll try to sly you from the blind side, from beyond your peripheral vision. That is the nature of the bottom feeder and the excrement on the other side, but I can show you 1 million of those images now and hundreds of thousands in the last couple of weeks. So there's patterns you need to pay attention to. So this is one of the reasons if you're going anywhere and you actually are thinking about defending yourself, you know, I don't care if it looks cool to wear a soft hat. It's cooler if you wear a helmet. And bike helmets are really great. They really do look cool. You can get some really nice bucket tactical helmets that are cheap that anything and everything will pretty much bounce off from. That's what you're more concerned with anything. Not so much being shot, but remember, the monkey poker is going to go, I didn't know that it would crush his skull and his brains would leak out of the big hole I made with a krypton lock. I wasn't trying to kill him. I really didn't think it was going to. He's lying. They're lying. But you see, I'm going to point out that one asshat got away with that 7 times that was with Antifa. That in the community where that creature did that and was caught on film stepping up and beating people unconscious with a krypton lock, this is way before all of these events, got away with it. That they let him slide. He didn't get charged with felony assault, attempted murder. No, because his little kosher buddies that are in the crime syndicate called the courts in his area, well, it was just wonderful that this guy was, reaching through and beating people down and driving that lock into their head and knocking them out unconscious. It was wonderful. The courts and the prostituter and everybody liked it. And the cops didn't rough him up either. But you, on the other hand, if you defended yourself at that moment, all the cops would be like, white on rice on you and beat you down for defending yourself from that person trying to murder you. So first phase is defense. You have to use, if everybody wants to go on the offensive, eventually that's going to happen. But we are in a situation like we always have been. We'll let them start it, but we got to be able to survive the start. So you all need to be thinking ahead. The simple stab vests that I was pushing that were over at Sportsman's Guide, I think pretty much all the cheap ones are gone. There might be one or two others left, but now they want $150, $140, whereas before they were $40, $50 a piece. Hell, some went down to $35. For most of what you're doing, just traveling around, they're great because they were casual vests. You could put them underneath another shirt, or you could put them underneath even a light windbreaker, so they just kind of not be noticed as much. Because you don't want the enemy to realize you are protected. You want them to think that they can take that short knife and stab you in the kidneys. Because when they make that strike and they do that, you turn around and put 6 holes in them because you go, bop, 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 bop. You're totally justified in doing it. You do understand how that works, right? When you have that knife crease where they stuck the knife in around kidney level and tried to cross over the kidney and then crawl along the spine, and instead they hit that stab vest, which isn't that sophisticated because, I guarantee when I mentioned the stab vest, some idiot stick was going, well, what good would that do? Well, it's better than your ass, bare naked in the wind, and most people, that's the situation you are in. And we're not talking about stopping a whole lot of rounds, but amazingly enough, some of the tests have been done by the goofuses out there trying to laugh at what the Chinese made. Turns out it works better than expected. So, again, it does have an overlap. Now, you get better armor, you get better quality defense. But here's another thing. I don't think Grandma or Uncle Fred, who's like in his 50s or 60s, is going to want to wear a plate carrier around work or going to the grocery store. But Bob, Fred, Wilma, whatever, might be willing to put a stab vest on and keep it casual if they have to go to a place where it's possible that one idiot stick or a bunch of idiot sticks are going to show up in the environment that now exists. So when Stupid opened his mouth and said, he doesn't know what he's talking about, Don McCornkey, stab vest, what the good? Yeah, I know that's going on even when I said it. That fool opened his face. I'm going to tell you right now, whoever's standing next to him and listening to him, that's a fool. That's an idiot. Apples and oranges. We don't need plate carriers for everyday work. What we need is stuff that is going to casually protect you. Hell, there's any number of things. Leather jerkins are better than at least, walking around bare butt naked. That was traditional, by the way. If you don't know what a jerkin is, go look it up. You might find the right image, you might not. I have bunches of them. The British military used to make them until recently. In fact, I think they still do. I think they got a new model they came out with. But it's designed to be slick side, and it's always made out of leather. It's designed to offer a limited amount of protection from burns and cuts and things like that. And it's just a vest. They just call it a jerkin, okay? So it's not like these inventories of please don't, defend yourself from being stabbed items don't work. They've worked, and they've worked well, and they've been used for a long time. If you're going to invest in something, everybody needs to invest in body armor to one degree or another. Everybody needs a gas mask. It's only a matter of time before they really start pulling out the junk, and if you're in the wrong place at the right time, you got to be able to walk out of the area and be able to see the threat. Remember that the rabid Antifa type will be told to take advantage of smoke and CSCN or capsium oil mist, and they can stab and nonchalantly hurt you while moving through an area. You need to be ready to, return the favor in spades, by already being functional and, again, not impaired by the agent, the chemical agent. There's a bunch of stuff that still needs to be taken care of. Most people aren't really squared away, but they're on our page and they're listening now. The cheapy stab armor, the stuff from China may not get here in time. I don't know. The way it is right now with all the stuff that's going on, if you need it, look to see what is in the surplus circles. Go to sportsmansguide.com, keepshooting.com. There may even be some stuff over at Gun Parts Corp. Go over to their surplus end and see what they have left. They might have a few vests. Apex Gun Parts has had vests on and off cheap. Now they've been more expensive. The more recent batch they got were more expensive than the stuff they originally had. If it's affordable, everybody gets some instead of one person got the goodies and everybody else is standing there sucking vapors, not protected. The idea is to get something on everyone as quickly as you can. By the way, if you have that kind of armor and then you get better armor, leave the other on. It only weighs 2-3 pounds. Add the other armor to it. Now you've got that much more protection. What's the big deal? Or give it to somebody or share it to somebody. Not give it away, but share it to somebody in your group who doesn't have armor so that they have some degree of protection. It's that simple. Proper planning prevents poor performance. We get a lot of work to do, not much time to get it done, need to be squared away in the process. So focus, pick a direction. I don't care what it is, but get something done. With regard to operations, again, remind everybody, if you mobilized and the enemy didn't show up, you claim that as a victory. You brag that up, that they pissed their pants and they decided not to. Good. Now, I'm going to point out something's going to happen here, so beware. Our enemy heard what I just said, what a lot of other people are saying. They realize that their own side, the other side, the ring knockers, the CIA types, Mossad types, the rioters, are going to have to keep the momentum up, and they got to keep them pumped up. So they can't afford to have defeats on their side, which means they're going to tell them to press the envelope. They are going to spend more resources to try and accomplish the same task. They have been using what is called conservation in force. Only use what you need. Don't pull everything out all at once. Add more as needed. That's why that first wave of buses in the one situation showed up, and then the second wave showed up. They felt they needed to put more manpower on the ground. They had a second landing. It's like air mobile or a beachhead landing or anything else where you've got deployment, truckloads of troops. Same thing. Now you need to be squared away as the defender. Remember, the defender need only survive. The attacker must overcome/subdue. The defender always has the advantage, provided the defender becomes dynamic in the defense. The defender always has the advantage. Here's a little thing they don't talk about very much, but they have to accept as an attacker, if this gets into a real fight, typically a 5-to-1 casualty ratio, because they have to expose themselves to take ground. You don't. Always remember that. So when it comes to generating casualties, remember, hits count, misses don't. All you people out there with 30-06 and 308 deer rifles and 300 Win mags, I don't care what it is. You are far more devastating in the defense than any other weapon that could probably be brought to bear in any of the small arms available, because you focus and you do with a biped what you've been doing with a quadruped for decades in many cases. And by the way, the biped you're shooting at doesn't move as fast as the quadruped. That deer is a lot faster and actually is a lot brighter on top of everything else. We're at the top. We've got to hear the music. It is Tuesday, Communications Tuesday. For everybody out there, it is the end of the second hour of the Intel Report. We will be back. God bless our Republic. Yes, to the New World Order. We shall prevail, ladies and gentlemen. The Empire's on the run. We're in the march. We'll be back in 1 hour. Meanwhile, Ed taking over. More LTR coming up right here. And again, remember, organize, arm, equip, and train as militia. Establish a 510 program in your area of operation. You're at war. Congratulations. You got what you've been expecting. Bye-bye.
Plant the seed in our homeland, boys. Let it grow where all can see. Feed it with our devotion, boys. Call it the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. Save it from the storm, boys. Water down its roots with tea. And the sun will always shine on the old Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty. March along with the piper, boys. We were born forever free. Let's go pay the piper, boys, beneath the Liberty Tree. It's a tall old tree and a strong old tree. And we are the sons, yes, we are the sons of liberty.
Join Mark and Don for Weapons Wednesday, where you'll learn how to use everything from your bare hands to your average AR-15.
The 12 gauge autoloader.
Sure.
The 45 long slide.
Yep.
With laser sighting.
You betcha.
The Uzi 9mm.
Yes, sir.
Phased plasma rifle in the 40-watt range.
What are you, crazy?
Wrong.
Okay, they'll talk about that too. So whatever question you have about whatever weapon you have, call Mark and Don on Weapons Wednesday. And remember, your mind is your first best weapon.
Now you can feel that squeaky clean sensation like none other with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash is a unique natural formula not found in any other oral care products. With a gentle combination of zinc, folic acid, myrrh, and clove oil, Vitamer effectively whitens teeth, removes plaque, and freshens breath, and it does it naturally without any harmful chemicals. Visit us online at Vitamer.com. That's VITAMYR.com. Or call us today to place your order at 1-888-558-8482. That's 1-888-558-8482. Keep your teeth and gums healthy with Vitamer toothpaste and mouthwash. Vitamer, nature's answer to healthy teeth and gums. And remember, it's all completely natural. Available at participating health food stores nationwide.
Liberty's Guardian, Guns and Ammunition, a family-owned business located in the heart of Ohio's hunting country. Let us help you